New York City real estate developers are some of the best on the planet when it comes to determining the best use for a property and then making their vision come to life. And that's exactly what's happening again, as several top-tier developers are aiming to open up casinos right in the middle of New York City. We're talking a Monaco-style casino over Saks Fifth Avenue, a gambling den with East River views, and a Hard Rock casino in the center of Times Square. This news might come as a bit of a surprise for anybody out there who lives in New York City or anybody who has even visited, because even though there are some casinos that are scattered around New York State, there's a very limited amount of space in the city, especially in Manhattan. Even with this limited amount of space, the State Gaming Commission is currently able to issue up to 3 licenses for casinos, and the mayor has said that he wants 2 of those licenses given to the city. In today's episode, we are going to dive into who these developers are that are being proposed to actually build these casinos. We'll talk about what brands they plan to partner with in order to pull their vision off. And last, we'll get into all of the lobbying efforts that are happening right now in order to try to get this proposal approved. Now, I know we've got people from all over the world who watch these videos, so first, let's talk about how gambling works in the United States. There's a few different ways to gamble around the country, but the rules change depending on where you are. The most common forms are through sports betting, buying lottery tickets, or through casinos where you can play slot machines or card games. Nevada and Louisiana are the only states in the country that allow casino gambling statewide. Then the other states have either no gambling allowed, or it's only permitted in certain territories like on Indian reservation land, or it's only permitted on a case-by-case, more regional basis. Gambling is legal under US federal law, so it's totally up to the states on exactly how they want to handle their rules around gambling. The undisputed positive side of gambling from a state standpoint is the taxes earned. I mean, just looking at lottery tickets alone, there was about $27 billion collected by state and local governments from the sale of lottery tickets in 2020. This tax money, in theory, can help improve things like education, transportation, and healthcare in any given state. Clear downside, though, to a state offering gambling options is that many people argue that the lottery and the casinos are preying on America's poor, because the majority of people who participate in these things are people who don't necessarily have the money to lose. So because of that, you might argue that the option to buy a lottery ticket or go to the casino in your city is actually doing more harm than good to your local economy. Moving on from gambling as a whole, let's talk about the groups who are aiming to develop these casinos in New York City. First up, we have a company called L&L Holdings, who is a privately held real estate developer in New York City who's developed over 10 million square feet of commercial and residential space in California and in Florida. L&L is in the process of building out a project called TSX Broadway. This project is already well underway in Times Square. It's a 46-story hotel that was designed by Perkins Eastman and Mancini Duffy. TSX Broadway will have a 669-room hotel. It'll have retail space, restaurants, a cantilevered stage that hangs out over Times Square, and as of a recent report, L&L just submitted a proposal to the city to build out a portion of this project into a casino. These guys have a pretty great advantage with their proposal, seeing that they are so far along in the build process of this project already. I mean, converting some of the mixed-use space of TSX Broadway into a casino won't be all that challenging or expensive for them, and whatever the expense is, I'm sure they'll be able to justify the cost, because the budget of TSX Broadway is said to be north of $2.5 billion. Next up, we have a company called Vornado Realty, who's one of the largest commercial real estate developers. They're in talks about building out a casino in the Herald Square area of Midtown Manhattan. See, Vornado already owns real estate in this region, so their spin would be to develop out a location that makes the most sense, then sign a long-term lease with one of the larger casino operators who definitely want in on the New York City casino action. The issue here, though, is remember, there's a total of 3 potential permits that are being considered to be issued to the city, and it is rumored that the casino brands Bally's, Las Vegas Sands, Hard Rock, and Wynn Resorts are all pursuing a license of their own. If any of these big players get a license of their own, they're going to be far more likely to want to partner with a developer to own some space of their own versus rent space from a company like Vornado Realty. There are a couple other big groups like Related Companies and Thor Equities who are also in on the rumors about fighting for one of these licenses. All of these groups that are fighting for a license have very deep pockets, so they're doing everything that they possibly can to land themselves at the top of the list. The lobbying process where people legally aim to influence politicians on matters like opening a casino can get pretty messy and convoluted. It's going to be easier to influence the politicians in New York now more than ever though. Governor Cuomo said in a report last year that the state is facing a $15 billion shortfall right now, so they need all the help they can get from a revenue perspective. Even though the powers that be might be easier to convince to get on board with this casino idea right now, the process of lobbying can still be very expensive. In the case of the lobbying efforts here, there are 7 gambling companies who were last reported to be spending around $300,000 per month on a blitz to push New York State to fast track the timetable for these 3 casino licenses. What's happening right now in New York City, to put it really simply, is that there are some state budget negotiations that are wrapping up as we speak. And part of those negotiations is exactly what the decisions will be on those 3 casino licenses. Naturally, all of the lobbyists who want to see those licenses get approved are going nuts right now because if the licenses get approved, the developers and casino operators stand to make fortunes over the coming years. It's hard to even comprehend the deep pockets and complex business operations of the companies who work to get stuff like this approved in their cities. I mean, not only are they spending 300 grand a month to try to get something passed that may never even actually get passed, but the Senate Democrats have proposed that if these license deals do get approved, then the operators will pay a minimum of $1 billion for each license. There are definitely mixed opinions on whether or not having casinos scattered all around New York City would be a good thing. I mean, on one hand, from a tourist standpoint and a tax standpoint, these casinos would be a huge positive because they would give tourists yet another thing to do in the city, and they would drive millions and millions of dollars in tax revenue. But on the other hand, most of the locals seem to oppose the idea because even though the casinos will create a lot of local jobs, some say that they would have a harmful effect on the area surrounding the casino itself. You know, there's casinos in operation all around where I live, and they don't really bother me a bit, but at the same time, they're not sitting in locations that I spend a ton of time. So because of that, it's kind of hard for me to put myself in the shoes of a New York City local. I guess I'm kind of neutral on how I feel about all of this. If you enjoyed the episode today, guys, if you could hit that thumbs up button down below or leave a comment, that really helps the channel out a lot. And remember to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I'm putting new videos just like this one out every week, but that's all I've got for you guys this time. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see ya.